Hey there, let's turn this poster by a junior designer into this. Come along with me, and as always, subscribe. First up, what I'm going to do is what I call a vibe check in Canva, and it's using the print feature, as if you're going to print something using Canva's printing services, to preview a mock-up. It saves you making your own mock-up. And this is a really good way to do a vibe check of your design, especially if it's printed material. It's a great way to almost literally step back, figuratively step back, and see your design from the distance the way someone else might. My first instinct with all designs like this is to just reduce and refine. The best way to do that, in my opinion, is to remove any extra flourishes and punctuation that is not absolutely necessary. Tighten up some of your spacing and your leading, but overall simplify. Remove textiles, uppercasing as much as you can. I'm actually going to remove this background because it's a bit distracting while I do the text work. It's often really valuable to just work against a flat color when you're doing your typography hierarchy. Alright, so here I am, removing those bolds, tightening up the letter spacing just a touch on this font, because I don't see the need to change the font. The font is great. The font is Proxima Nova. It's a very clean, tidy font. But there's just some little things going on in this design that just clutter it up a little bit. So we take out those little dashes, we play, and finesse the spacing. We remove the uppercasing and the bold and see where we end up. There's no need really for all of this to be screaming at you. All right, let's tackle this bottom area again. We have uppercase, bold, we have italics. URLs in particular, I really cannot stand when they are in uppercase because you really need to be able to read them easily. And the evidence shows that people read sentence casing and lowercasing much, much faster than they read uppercase. So something as critical as a URL should really be in lowercase. And also what I just did there was bring up that little orphan postcode up onto that same line. And what it did by complete accident, I didn't intend it to, was create these two little separate bits at the bottom. So it feels like two spaces, like two blocks of text, which make up one, and it gives it a little bit more breathing room. All right, let's go back to our vibe check. Okay, just want to check that everything's still legible, everything can be seen from a distance. Everything looks great, and we're in a really good spot as in regards to the hierarchy and information flow of the design. I don't want to touch anything else just yet. So we're going to go back to our background. I'm going to paste that back in, and I'm going to say this is a pretty dated color palette. It feels very early 2000s. You could punch it up to a neon very quickly, and that would make it feel more contemporary, but neons don't print very well, so I wouldn't recommend that. When I'm looking for cool new color combinations, the homepage of Behance is where it's at. Don't really look for styles or whatever, but just try to take in some color combinations that feel fresh and unique. For this tutorial, let's just jump straight to Peach Fuzz, which is Pantone's color of the year for 2024. I think let's just grab that hex code out of Google. Let's start playing with that. I really wanted this tutorial to play for you in real time, but I need to fast forward the next section because it will be so tedious to watch. What it is me trying to change this illustration from the Canva library into something that's in the Peach Fuzz tone, and my golly, it took a long time. I ended up having to go back to Behance to find another reference for it, and I was like, oh, maybe we could integrate some teal back into it. This is such a cute illustration, by the way. I color picked some colors, they didn't really work, and it just went on and on. So excuse the fast forward. We got there in the end. But here I start to see some interesting things. I'm like, oh, maybe we don't really need that text, that join us text at the top. Maybe we could use the line in the background to create some sort of divider between the text at the top, which is the headline, and then all the information below. I tried to change the order of the text around, and then it hit me. Let's bring in a more playful, cute font for the headline. Look, I know less than 10 minutes ago I said that Proxima Nova is a great font and we didn't need to change it. But I just was like, it's not bringing enough vibe to the headline for something as fun as Summer Songs in the Park. So it's kind of soft, gentle serif was great. And what it does is really draw the eye, and it allows me to have all the other text very, very simple. Even simpler than what I had, like I just took out some uppercase right there. If you make posters for clients like this for events on the regular, you know that they often have a footer full of ugly logos at the bottom. So I wanted to add this in here to show you that that doesn't stop you from having a great design, and it's something you actually have to work with rather than against. Okay, I think we're looking pretty good. Let's compare the pair, and again with the finessing, really little tweaks to get all this balance right. Here I am just checking to make sure all the secondary text is exactly the same size and that the letter spacing is exactly the same. And here just punching that up in size a little bit just to create more of a point of difference with the rest of the text on the page. And I really just want to clarify the spacing between the kind of sections of text, and a really good way to do that in Canva is just, or even in any application, is to grab a square and use that to measure, because as you know, within the text boxes, the text doesn't always hit the boundary of the box, and so by using a square you can kind of use your eye to do it, and rather than the built-in tools to do it, which will be based off the box. I want to be clear that if you worked for me, this is all the advice that I would give you, but I wouldn't step in and do this design for you. I wouldn't take over. I think that that's really a disservice that some senior designers do to junior designers, is they just take the reins. I would probably give you very detailed notes to show you this in action. This is completely just for this tutorial. Please do not think I have completely overtaken someone else's design. I'm just gonna play with the background one more time. I think that it just has too much contrast in it. What the initial design had going on really well was that the background really did feel like a background. It hinted at these things. It wasn't very clear what it was. So I am going to take that approach, and I think it's much stronger, and I've reframed it so that we have more going on in the background because it's kind of knocked back a bit. It's got a lovely texture to it and isn't too distracting, but definitely gives this tone. Last thing to do is to add a little bit of color to the text. The black is too harsh, so I did a quick Google of complementary peach fuzz colors, and yeah, like a terracotta dark brown. I added that in, and here we are. This is not the world's best design in any way. I am not suggesting that. But I hope this is a good example of how you can take something that was cute and really refine the layout to make it a more easy to read design and improve the color palette to make it a little bit more contemporary.